Hey guys, it is Wednesday at 1 p.m.
It's Many Wednesday.
It is the highlight of your week. It's Will and Dewey bringing you Wooey.
You know they're going to change the name of the show to Wooey, right?
Yeah, I'm alright with that.
I'm
You're
not
the only
okay.
one that's like mad about it.
We're not changing the name of the show to Wooey.
I see that Dewey titled this Fifth Time's a Charm, but he doesn't know how to use like apostrophes and stuff.
No.
Or punctuation.
Punctuations for pansies.
Nicely done. So I guess today, like, we've got a couple of things planned. Unfortunately, John Goodman and Machine Gun Kelly could not be on our show. Security told us to
Damn shame.
leave their craft services alone. They told us no, we could not be extras. Machine Gun Kelly apparently got punched 64 times in the chest.
That's what the number was 64.
It's very specific, so I feel like that's just an excuse to not come on our very low budget production instead of being on the movie that they're filming on our street. I don't know, I guess like we could talk about cars now.
Yeah, we can.
We can. I mean, we don't have to if you guys don't
I got a
want
feeling
to.
we're going to talk a lot about Hondas this week.
We are going to talk a lot about Hondas.
Give me a quick second. Let me get.
I think you mean
get a-
whom does.
Whom
Does.
Let me share this real quick.
Oh yeah, throw it up on my wall too, please.
I do what I want.
Fine, throw it up on THM's wall.
I'll probably do that too.
You're so bad at this.
I
Everything.
am terrible at this.
So anyways, I'm going to start off by telling you a fun story involving Hondas this weekend. So my friend Mark Stoven and I, shout out to Mark, who I know is not watching this show because he sucks. He'd offer to let me drive his K24 swapped Civic Type R, old Type R, EK. Super fun car, super exhausting car to drive actually. There's what?
The camera's got kind of a kink to it.
I've noticed that you can kind of tell it's not exactly
Yeah, I
straight.
think we got some Batman Detroit lean.
Do you want us just to lean to make it look more even? But yeah, he'd offer to let me drive his K24 Civic Type R for an autocross. It's a pretty sweet car. It is for sale, guys, by the way, even though it's kind of broken. Working on fixing it. So we had a hybrid racing belt tensioner on the vehicle, and it sheared one of the bolts off. And in the process of doing that, it wiped out all the threads. So all of a sudden, we're cruising down to Champaign about 2.5, 3 hours from here, and about 25, 30 minutes from the site, we throw an alarm for overheat condition and pull over to the side of the road, and I can hear it, bubbling and boiling inside the radiator, and that's pretty awesome. In fact, super awesome. Quick glance shows belt slipped off. It's like, oh, no big deal. And then it turns out that it did just slip off. The belt tensioner is not doing any belt tensioning because it's just flopping around in there. If Dewey ever stops fucking around with his thing, he can show you some photos.
I'm trying to find. I can't share this to you. Why does it hate me?
I'm
bad
right
at
there. I'm the
internet.
first one.
Oh yeah. Shut up, dude. Nobody likes
So we broke down outside of Gilman, Illinois, middle of nowhere, on the highway on I-57, and it was like 35 degrees in the morning. So we started walking to Gilman to see if we can find a hardware store's open, see if we can get some stuff to cobble it back together. Within 45 minutes, it was 75 degrees and like sweating our asses off. So that was fun. Walked about 10 miles that day, finally got to the hardware store, and we put together some awesome stuff. That is not some, yes, that.
Is this what you want me to show?
That is what I want you to show them.
I suppose. Yoink. And let's make it go big.
That's too big.
It's too big. We're dealing with it.
So that black thing over there is the tensioner, and it pulled away from the bracket, tore all the threads out. We somehow managed to get the bolt in there through, like with epoxy and a couple of nuts and stuff. And then to get to keep it.
You epoxied the bolt.
We did.
It's amazing.
That shit is never coming out of there. But in order to not get it to swing to the side once the belt is on, once it's tensioning it, we used thin gauge copper wire and wrapped it around the intake manifold so
right
it
here?
won't fall over.
This is just wire?
That's copper wire.
Wow.
You can see that I was clearly a Boy Scout. And some zip ties on there just for good measure because no JDM fix is complete without zip ties.
And this got you home.
This got us 70 miles.
Wow.
We did not make it autocross, needless to say, but we did
Oh,
drive
ran
it.
it.
We did. We drove it 70 miles. It didn't slip at all.
I would have ran it.
But
the
this
difference
got me
between
thinking about like what kind of like ghetto fab awesome stuff have you done? And the idea was like, what have you done to get home in a pinch? But like some of my friends, they sent me some photos of stuff that they've done. So if you want to throw that screen over on,
Is that what all these are?
yes,
Is this one of your buddies?
say something worthwhile. I don't know who that is. Oh yes, that is one of my buddies. They bought a Volkswagen van. It doesn't have AC, so they put a window AC unit in it.
That works. That's
keeps
not
it
even
cool.
that ghetto. I
It's
mean,
not that ghetto, but it's clever. But I like that it's like plastic wrap all along the cord too, so that if it rains, it's
if
okay.
it rains, we won't die as much. All right, what do we got here?
That's my friend Don Davies.
I don't know how well people can see that.
No, probably not very well, but it's a stock intercooler for a Cobalt SS turbocharged, and it blew the ends off, and he put the ends back on. What did you do? He put the
I'm
ends.
losing my mind.
Stop it.
I can't
He
help
put the ends back on with super glue and duct tape. It apparently held 15 psi for quite some time because Donnie's a cheap ass and didn't want to replace it. Next, Kane. This is awesome. That is a downpipe welded to an oil filter socket.
What was this supposed to be in the end? Is this making a downpipe?
This is making a downpipe.
For what?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's probably for a sop. It's probably one of those things he did for
I mean,
his
that looks
beat up.
terrible.
You mean amazing. We call it hashtag KenFab. Ken is not a good welder. Love you, Ken, but you're a terrible welder.
Oh,
You got to do what you got to do. We have all done something shady to get home. Very true. I think there is one more over there. Nope,
that
that's
was
it. Okay, cool. So, I mean, like, nobody else has any story. I know you've got some stories about some shady stuff that you've done.
Oh, I've had a story or two.
Oh,
Like,
go in Slack. Show them the heat extractor that I sent you
which one?
in Slack.
Oh, you sent me something in Slack?
Yeah, God, you're bad at this.
Dude, I'm terrible. You're Slack. That's up here.
No, go next.
I'm going next.
Go next. Oh yeah, there's more in my panel picture.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
got a sweet heat extractor.
Somebody also drew a phallic thing over here.
I think that's supposed to be a NACA duct. But
Right.
as it turns out, NACA ducts don't work when you draw them on.
Says who?
Dewey.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, it actually works because the front of it does have a raised edge. So technically it is a functional heat extractor.
It's probably functioning. It's terrible.
It is terrible, but I guess it's
What is that on an old SHO?
It is on an old show.
I got that. From
It's
the
also
headlights.
sprayed by like 150 shot.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet you that's a fun car. That's
Yeah,
just destroyed
It's
front tires.
like third.
Yeah, back in the day in high school, I had this 85 Mercury Topaz. That was my first car. Terrible vehicle in every sense.
It is.
Well,
it's no longer company. I think that says a lot about it.
my family it was kind of like the leftover car, and it had been sitting in the grass for years. Well, what happened? 80s Fords. Anybody knows if you leave an 80s Ford in the grass, the whole bottom rots out.
Overnight.
I kept having brake lines pop on me, and I had no money. So
Did you use rubber fuel hose?
no,
Oh,
no, I used vice grips.
awesome.
Yes, I had 3 sets of vice grips on there, all pinching off different hoses on brake lines.
So did you have functioning brakes?
I had one brake that worked.
Which one?
It was the front driver's side.
So every time you braked, it like pulled.
The whole car would go like this. Now, anybody who's been through a Michigan winter knows that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I almost died with that a couple of times. That car then got stuck in the mud, which is something I was pretty good at. My good buddy Brian tried to pull me out of the mud, wrapped around the rear suspension. I don't even remember how that suspension worked. I think it was like twist beam or something. And gave it a yank with his truck and bent everything to shit.
How about driving 8 miles home with no clutch or brake pedal in 66 Mustang? Chuck, we would love to hear about how you managed to get it 8 miles with no clutch
Chuck,
or brake.
that's weak. I did no brakes. This is no joke. I went and bought a WRX up in Minneapolis, and in the middle of the night, I drove that thing all the way home, no brakes from the time we left Minneapolis. I hit the brakes once, a line burst, and I wasn't waiting. I drove it all the way back to the Chicago area, no brakes in the middle of the night.
I burst the
Megan
line
was
on
there
Neon-
with me. True story.
I burst the line on Neon ACR during a test drive. Needless to say, we did not buy a Neon ACR.
Why you gotta hate on neons? Don't hate on
I didn't
neons in
hate
front
on
of
neons.
Chuck.
I'm just saying
Chuck's
it
a fan
happened.
of the neon, man.
Let's let's see, my Saab one time, or one of my old Saabs, the slave cylinder went out, so to get it home, I put it in gear and started it. Used the starter to bump it to get it going.
We got No Mama's Garage shared us. Who's No
Sweet.
Mama's Garage? Good job, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing us. Throw us up. If you find us entertaining, I find us entertaining. I find us very funny, but maybe it's just because I think that I'm ridiculously good looking and funny.
Yeah.
Not many people think that.
So-
I'm pretty delusional.
Not all ghetto fabs go well, though.
This is true.
We have a kid whose nickname is Inferno out in the Algonquin area for a very good reason.
Is it because his car caught fire?
Oh, it was amazing.
Was it a barbecue?
It was a gorgeous red Integra GSR with a Jackson Racing Supercharger kit. It was just a beautiful car. Something a high school kid just should not own. I don't know how it wasn't stolen. But the kid asks my brother, and he's like, "Hey, I keep smelling fuel." And my brother looks at it, he's like, you got a fuel leak. Like, you shouldn't drive this car until you get that fixed. He's like, "Oh, I'll be fine." And
then it started
he
to
put
fire.
Scotch tape over it. I can't even make
Sweet.
this up. The kid put Scotch tape over a fuel line, drives it home. On the way to school the next day, obviously it catches fire. Whole thing burns to the ground.
That's pretty
Gorgeous
sweet.
GSR, burned to the ground. His nickname's now Inferno.
Oh, other successful hacks. I think our friend in Michigan, he had an E36 where the control arm broke. So I think he used like a piece of like metal bar, a bunch of hose clamps, and some zip ties to zip tie the two broken pieces of the control arm back together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
So he
drove-
like splinted it?
Yeah, he splinted
Yeah.
it, and then he drove it around for like a while because he just didn't have time to replace it.
That's amazing.
That's also terrifying, like knowing that there are cars like that on the road and walking along the side of the highway for many miles. The things that you find on the side of the highway, it's like, why are there so many like lug nuts and bolts and?
Have you been to Detroit?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Have you seen the cars that drive around in Detroit?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
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 Detroit lean.
In defense of the car, brakes in the old Mustang didn't do much anyways. This is true.
Yeah.
Was that all drums?
Yeah, brake lines and I are not friends. I'll agree with that, Crash. Speaking Crash, you got crap you need to come pick up.
Yeah.
Wow, we just lost like all sorts of focus.
It just,
I don't know what it focused on.
I don't know. Your phone's being all angry and stuff.
Wow, that's really bad.
You-
There it goes, I got it back.
Sweet. Dewey and brake lines are not friends. No, they're not. So, I guess.
I
let's-
guess we were just having a conversation about nitrous and front wheel drive cars. Let's talk about
Yeah, front wheel drive cars. Also relevant. It's a new Civic Type R that hopefully won't break,
That
unlike
thing.
the one that I drove